Good afternoon, guys. Russell Sandiford here for your Easy Markets midday morning rant. The overnight markets certainly gave us a bit of a snapshot, I think, of what is to come, particularly for the sterling and also the euro, if we get this US tax reform plan through in the US, now pushed to the Senate, or if it falls over. So the market is still very much looking to that US tax reform story for the key reason to be long or short dollars, and this is on a knife edge, I can assure you. So if we just break it down, there were some other key things. Firstly, Jerome Powell, the new incoming Fed chair, he was there and made some interesting remarks about inflation. Some caution was thrown in there about inflation, but where he was a bit optimistic was one key comment that lifted all the financial stocks was that he mentioned that the current regulation and regulatory framework for the banks is tough enough. So that was the main reason why the financials in the US were up. US stocks nudged record highs again, and the VIX is still holding there around 10. So just switching gears a little bit, commodities were a little bit quiet with oil pulling down just slightly under that $58 marker. Now that's pretty much because the OPEC meeting happening later on this evening, that's the big story. So the handbrake's on a little bit there at $58. I still think we'll see a move to $60 very quickly later on this evening. Don't forget as well, guys, that at 2:30 a.m. Sydney time, or just after midnight in Singapore, you've also got the crude oil inventories data for the US. So be very careful there if you're trading dollar CAD or oil. Gold was pretty quiet, still hovering around that $12.94, $12.95 band. Now, what wasn't quiet was the sterling. The sterling is the big story this week. I said that on Monday in the weekly video. It's still going to be the big mover. Now, it did whipsaw on both sides last night. First move was lower. You can see here on the chart, the sterling got down as low as about 32.20 before doing a big figure number reversal to 33.20. Okay, since then, this morning here in Asia, it's been a little bit mixed, coming back off 33, 34 or thereabouts. It needs to crack through that 34 barrier, which I've been saying in the daily commentary on the Easy Markets website as well. Once it does that, I think it can make a big run towards 136. I know that's a big call, but remember, this pair, if I show you the weekly chart, this pair was only 2 months ago, end of Sept, was only 2 months ago at 136.40. It's now at 133.5. So there's a lot of slingshot upside potential in the sterling. Now that's fine. We know that Brexit story is getting closer to being a deal in terms of their divorce payment. That's fine, but the best way to play is not always against the greenback, because remember, we are also at 100% pricing for a US rate hike next month. So potentially look to some of the cross pairs, the sterling Aussie, the sterling Kiwi, sterling yen. All of those pairs should be in for a very interesting couple of weeks. But that's enough about the sterling. The euro was a big mover as well. Didn't really move big numbers, but it did slide back. I'll just jump back to the 4 hour. It did slide back pretty swiftly since Monday's 1950 level. Okay, we're back at 1840, and it's basically scratching its head. That's a US dollar move, and that's purely on some optimism there around that US tax reform progress. The other big stories in the market are a couple of them. Bitcoin, of course, to 10,000 is totally out of control. It's just above that, poking its head above that 10,000 milestone now. For mine, I've been calling 11.5 since we were basically at 9,800, because the 10,000 mark, it doesn't seem like it'll be a problem to really run through. We don't look like having a pullback just yet. So for those of you buying Bitcoin, just remember on the Easy Markets platform, we have guaranteed stop loss orders. Very, very important. If there is a crazy headline about regulatory or any other issue that drags Bitcoin back wildly, if you're long and you're buying Bitcoin with us, you don't have to lose too much sleep, because we have guaranteed stop losses in place. And no issue on your trade size for Bitcoin. Now, some other key markets. Dollar yen is a very good risk thermometer. Talking about risk, the market shrugged off last night's news there of another North Korean missile, which landed in the Sea of Japan. Very much infuriating the Japanese government again, as you can expect. But really, the market actually shrugged that off. Typically with this sort of action, you'll see yen buying, safe haven, flurry, gold up, yen up, and dollar yen down. But that didn't happen. Gold was steady, and dollar yen actually got a bid. So the bottom line, the point I'm trying to make, guys, this is a big point, is dollar yen is taking the lead from the US tax reform story. The market is far more interested in how that can play out. So for mine, with US equities at all-time record levels again and dollar yen whipping around, I don't know about this. I think fading that dollar is still the best way to play, and I'm looking for dollar yen to make a punch to 1080 and even lower potentially. That's 110.80 or even lower. But it needs a catalyst. It needs that tax plan to flop over the course of the next week or so. I noticed as well just before the Aussie dollar punched under 76, again looking a bit heavy. In terms of other commentary, we do have Bank of England and Monetary Policy Committee members speaking later today. So if you're looking for volatility, there's a couple of markets I can talk to you about here on the dealing desk, which is the sterling is going to be the wildest child on that list. The Hang Seng as well. The Asian equities have actually opened a little bit soft about an hour ago in Hong Kong, which is ridiculous considering the US rally. They normally could look to follow that. So you might be interested in the Hang Seng, known as the Hong Kong on our platform. If you guys need a hand with your trading, come through to the desk here on our dealing desk number, which is on the easymarkets.com.au website. But again, the big action is always going to be dollar yen with this US dollar theme jumping around. Again, I favor the downside. And also, towards the end of the week, guys, check out the dollar CAD because we've got oil numbers tonight and Canadian data Friday. So this dollar CAD could do a U-turn on us again. I do favor a short play there at 128.20 on dollar CAD. I'll be back tomorrow to give you guys another quick market update.